Ecological Literacy. The great challenge of our time is to build and nurture sustainable communities. Communities that are designed in such a way that their ways of life, businesses, economies, physical structures, and technologies do not interfere with nature's inherent ability to sustain life. The first step in this endeavor is to understand the principles of organization that ecosystems have developed to sustain the web of life. This understanding is what we call ecological literacy, according to Educ. What is ecological literacy? Ecological literacy or ecoliteracy is a term used by American educator David W. Orr and physicist Educ in the 1990s in order to introduce into educational practice the value and well-being of the earth and its ecosystems. David W. Orr was born in 1944. He is the Paul Sears Distinguished Professor of Environmental Studies and Politics at Oberlin College Emeritus. He is a well-known environmentalist and is active in many areas of environmental studies, including environmental education and ecological design. He has been a trustee of many organizations and foundations, including the Rocky Mountain Institute and the Aldo Leopold Foundation. Educ was born on February 1, 1939. He is an Austrian-born American physicist, systems theorist, and deep ecologist. In 1995, he became a founding director of the Center for Ecoliteracy in Berkeley, California. He is on the faculty of Schumacher College. It is also a way of thinking about the world in terms of its interdependent natural and human systems, including a consideration of the consequences of human actions and interactions within the natural context. Students understand the natural systems that sustain life on Earth and apply the principles guiding ecosystems to help create sustainable human communities. Ecological literacy equips students with the knowledge and competencies necessary to address complex and urgent environmental issues in an integrated way, and enables them to help shape a sustainable society that does not undermine the ecosystems upon which it depends. Here are the core aspects of ecological literacy. First, principles of living systems. Second, design inspired by nature. Third, systems thinking. Fourth, ecological paradigm and the transition to sustainability. Fifth and the last, collaboration, community building, and citizenship. First is the principles of living systems. According to Educ, the ecological problems facing society are rooted in a lack of understanding of our place in the web of life. A key part of ecoliteracy is reconnecting students to living systems, what educator Linda Booth Sweeney calls developing a connected wisdom. Living systems are open, self-organizing systems that have the special characteristic of life and that interact with their environment through information and material energy exchanges. Examples of living systems include the human body, or a forest, or a river, as well as human-created organization such as communities or school. Connecting students to natural systems provides them with a deep sense of place and an understanding of their local environment. While students are immersed in experiences of the natural world as part of their classroom learning, they discover and study the principles guiding the functioning of natural systems. Second, design inspired by nature. Beyond understanding natural systems, ecological literacy is about applying this understanding to the redesign of organizations, communities, businesses, and societies to align with ecological principles. The idea of design inspired by nature has become popular through concepts such as biophilia, biomimicry, or biomimetics, which involves examining and emulating natural models, systems, processes, and elements in order to solve human problems. According to David Orr, the goal of ecological design is to transform how humans act in the world to provide food, shelter, energy, materials, and seek their livelihood. Ecological literacy as what people know and how should they learn it, given the limits of the earth and its systems. It demands that human actions and design conform to how the world works as a biophysical system, and that societies be designed with future generations in mind. Third is the systems thinking. Ecological literacy is also guided by an understanding of systems or systems thinking, sometimes called holistic or relational thinking. Because a system is a set of interdependent, interrelated parts that make up a complex and unified whole, it cannot be fully understood by analyzing its constituent parts. Ecological literacy involves applying a way of thinking that emphasizes relationships, connectedness, and context. For example, we can only understand a songbird by exploring both its own characteristics as well as its interactions with the watershed where it lives. Systems thinking is necessary to understand the complex interdependence and often unpredictable dynamics of ecological systems, social systems, economic systems, and other systems on all levels. Ecologically literate students find connections in seemingly disjointed problems, perceive patterns instead of pieces, and design communities based on the interrelatedness of all life. According to ecological literacy resources for the classroom teacher, science lessons about the water cycle or a food web are building blocks of ecological literacy because they reveal to the students how nature works. Likewise, a social studies unit on a human community, for example, a family, neighborhood, region, or a country, or a geography lesson on resource management contributes to ecological literacy as soon as the dependence and impact of the human system, community, region on natural system is acknowledged and explored as a vital part of the story. According to Water Foundation Systems Thinking in Schools 2007, there are 13 habits of a system thinker. First, seeks to understand the big picture. Second, observes how elements within system change over time, generating patterns and trends. Third, recognizes that a system structure generates its behavior. Fourth, identifies the circular nature of complex cause and effect relationships. Fifth, changes perspectives to increase understanding. Sixth, surfaces and tests assumptions. Seventh, considers an issue fully and resists the urge to come to a quick conclusion. Eighth, considers how mental models affect current reality and the future. Ninth, uses understanding of system structure to identify possible leverage actions. 10th, considers both short and long-term consequences of actions. 11th, finds where unintended consequences emerge. 12th, recognizes the impact of time delays when exploring cause and effect relationships. 13th, and the last one, checks results and changes actions of needed, successive approximation. Fourth is the ecological paradigm and the transition to sustainability. Teaching young people that we are part of the natural world is the basis for the shift to an ecological paradigm. A worldview that places humans as embedded in ecological systems rather than perceived as separate, and that recognizes that there are global constraints to the amount of resources we can use and ways we can produce on a finite Earth. Ecological literacy is partly aimed at triggering large-scale social change in how humans live on the planet. As Frijaf Capra notes, in the coming decades, the survival of humanity will depend on our ecological literacy, our ability to understand the basic principles of ecology and to live accordingly. The shift to an ecological paradigm is part of a transition to sustainability, meeting human well-being while substantially reducing poverty and conserving the planet's life support systems. Sustainability is not just about basic needs and human survival. Sustainability is the process to create a vibrant society. According to the Center for Ecological Literacy, a truly sustainable community is alive, fresh, vital, evolving, diverse, and dynamic. It supports the health and quality of life of present and future generations while living within the limits of its social and natural systems. It recognizes the need for justice and for physical, emotional, intellectual, cultural, and spiritual sustenance. This is about the ethics guiding human society, including taking responsibility for the social and environmental consequences of our activities. According to Daniel Goleman, ecological intelligence allows us to comprehend systems in all their complexity, as well as the interplay between the natural and man-made worlds. But that understanding demands a vast store of knowledge, one so huge that no single brain can store it all. Each one of us needs the help of others to navigate the complexities of ecological intelligence. We need to collaborate. Daniel Goleman uses the term ecological intelligence to highlight the need for feedback about whether our activities are having a positive or negative impact on people and ecosystems. He makes the point that there is an urgent need for marketplace transparency and for greater human understanding of the ecological impacts of how we live. New information technologies provide a tool for assessing the sustainability of supply chains and the far-flung impacts of our choices. He notes that we can, together, become more intelligent about the ecological impacts of how we live, and how ecological intelligence, combined with marketplace transparency, can create a mechanism for positive change. The exchange of information is only one aspect of this ecological intelligence. Goldman notes that we also need to draw on our social intelligence to coordinate and harmonize our efforts because of the complex global web of cause and effect. The next one is collaboration, community building, and citizenship. Ecological literacy is about emphasizing collaboration and partnership as a hallmark of living systems and life. The ability to associate, create links, draw on collective distributed intelligence of many individuals is part of ecoliteracy. Ultimately, sustainability is a community practice. Ecologically literate students are also community builders and active citizens. An ecological education occurs both within the natural environment and in the local community, where students can build relationships and apply their understanding in a real-world setting. Ecoliteracy knowledge empowers students to help create a better society and make a difference. Studies have shown that combining civic engagement and ecological literacy creates positive change leaders willing to participate as citizens and engage in creating solutions. Let's talk about ecological literacy in a global issues course. The Center for Ecoliteracy suggests the following principles for the integration of ecological literacy. Ecological literacy is not an additional concept or subject to be added to the content of the course. It may be seen rather as a perspective or way of thinking through which any selected topic or issue may be viewed. It is useful to focus on guiding fundamental questions, which may recur and open up conceptual links across disciplines, such as science, geography, anthropology, politics, history, the arts, sociology, and health. The conceptual links that tie subjects together help make learning more effective, since they lead to learning that is more readily applicable to the real world. Taking a hopeful, proactive approach and designing learning activities that engage students in potential solutions are important when teaching about environmental issues. The Center for Ecoliteracy has developed a set of core competencies to help young people develop and live in sustainable communities. These competencies relate to the head, or learning to know, the heart, learning to be, and the hands, learning to do, and the spirit, learning to live together. First is the head, or the cognitive, or what we call learning to know. Approach issues and situations from a systems perspective. Understand fundamental ecological principles. Think critically, solve problems creatively, and apply knowledge to new situations. Assess the impacts and ethical effects of human technologies and actions. Envision the long-term consequences of decisions. Next is the heart, or the emotional aspect, or what we call learning to be. Feel concern, empathy, and respect for other people and living things. See from and appreciate multiple perspectives. Work with and value others with different backgrounds, motivations, and intentions. Commit to equity, justice, inclusivity, and respect for all people. Next is the hands, or learning to do. Create and use tools, objects, and procedures required by sustainable communities. Turn convictions into practical and effective action, and apply ecological knowledge to the practice of ecological design. Assess and adjust uses of energy and resources. Next is the spirit, or the connectional, or the learning to live together. Experience wonder and awe toward nature. Revere the earth and all living things. Feel a strong bond with and deep appreciation of place. Feel kinship with the natural world and invoke that feeling in others. Teaching ecological literacy often involves the following. First, weaving ecological and systems approaches into the existing curriculum in a coherent way that builds student knowledge over time. Note that the focus should be on ecological concepts and their relationship to each other, both the big picture and the details, and to the active preservation of the ecosphere rather than incremental inclusion of ecological concepts. Next, building teacher capacity in the areas of ecology and system thinking. Next, learning from nature through immersion in the real world, nature and communities, and a deep knowledge of particular places. Next, acknowledgement of play, space, and experiential outdoor learning as essential to the cognitive development, health, and well-being of children. Next is the cultivation of a sense of wonder, creativity, and compassion for nature and for community. Transformation of the school into a living laboratory of buildings and processes that teach children about their interconnectedness to nature and their communities. Lastly, linkages to higher education resources and schools that allow students to continue the development of their ecological literacy.